Time for another recipe, and today we are making the boss's beef stew. Right, last week I put a picture on of a beef stew that I made, and I got a lot of people going, what's the recipe, what's the recipe, what's the recipe? So here it is. Now I'm going to be honest with you, it is nothing flash for me personally. It's just a very basic beef stew recipe. It's very, very simple, but it is very, very tasty. And there might be a couple of things that I do that might be slightly different to what you do if you are a connoisseur of the old beef stew. Anyway, let's get into it. Yeah, so you might be like, is that it, Neil? Yeah, that's it. But trust me, make it. You won't be disappointed. Now, the first thing we're going to do, which I've already actually done, stick the oven on, 140, pan. Good non-stick frying pan. We want that red hot. And now we're going to make our little flavouring spice mix. I always season with my heart. I very rarely measure things out. Whack this in, whack that in. So I'm going to kind of put into this little pot what I would normally put into my stew, like quantity wise, and we'll see where we get to. So we're starting off with some paprika. 10 grams of that stuff. And I'm just going to match. I think I'm just going to match. So let's go 10 grams garlic granules. And then I've got onion granules, 10 grams of those. Now, as I've already said, put the oven on. Why? Because I like to do my beef stew in a great big pot like this in the oven. You can do it in the slow cooker. For me personally, I just think it tastes miles better when you do it in the oven. So I've got this great big, is it a cast iron pot? There's a very posh, I think French make, that do these pots, and they're about 300 quid. This isn't one of those. This is from Aldi. They tend to put them out every November, so have a look. And I think it was 25, 30 quid, something like that. Absolutely brilliant. Anyway, where's my spice mix? Here it is, spice mix, you know what I mean? Paprika, garlic, and onion granules. Straight into the pot. Also into the pot, we are going to add 3 or 4 bay leaves. 1 vegetable stock cube, 1 beef stock pot. Now the stock cube and the stock pot are quite salty, but I'm still going to add just a pinch of salt. We're making 5 portions here, by the way. And now to this mix, we're going to add an inch or 2 of boiling water. Dissolve that stock pot, stock cube, and then we're just going to give that a mix. 200 grams, I don't know what that is, 200 grams of each carrot, onion, leeks. And now for some meat, we have got our red hot pan, little bit of spray oil, 2 squirts of this is half a teaspoon, so little bit of spray oil, and then we've got this British lean diced beef from Aldi, 700 gram pack. I took this out of the fridge about an hour ago. Whenever you want to brown meat off or cook a steak, or when you're frying anything, cook the meat from room temperature. Because if you cook it straight out the fridge, the meat tightens, or it's tight, so it won't be as tender, even though we're cooking this for hours. That's certainly the case when you're cooking a steak. But also, you put very cold meat into a hot pan, it cools the pan straight down, which will stop you getting that really good sear. One ingredient I've nearly forgotten, while that meat's browning up, we'll stick it in now. As the Americans like to call it, a bit of the old wash your sister sauce. Again, I never measure, but I'm going to go in with, I've got my old tablespoon here. I'm thinking 2. Now I'm thinking 3. Yeah, let's go 3. 3 tablespoons of the old wash your sister sauce. That'll do. First batch. Straight in the pot. Second batch done. That's going in there. And the last thing we're going to do, we don't want to lose any flavour, we're going to put some water out of the kettle into the pan. This is a really good non-stick pan. If you've got any bits that have stuck, I haven't, get a spoon, move them off the bottom, get them mixed in with that water. Like I say, it's a really good non-stick pan, so I've not got any. But just getting any last remnants of flavour. And that's going to go in there as well. Now we just need to give this a really good mix about. And the last thing we're going to do, a bit more water, and you just want to cover all the ingredients. Right, this big effort is going in the oven. 140 for about 3 to 4 hours. Then I'll have a look at it, give it a right good stir. You might need to add some more liquid to it. Then I'm going to turn it down to 120 and give it another 2. It wants 5 hours minimum, but in all honesty, you can't really overcook it, especially if you take that heat down to like 120. So yeah, even if it sits there for 8 hours, it's going to be good. But just make sure you check it and make sure you top it up with a bit of liquid if it needs it. Right, this is going in the oven. And I'll be back in a good few hours when it's done for the last little touch. It's like a full-on blue pizza moment. Here's one I made earlier. Okay, so this beauty has had 6 hours. About 3.5, 4 hours at 140, and then another 2-3 hours at 120, just a little bit lower. It's really cooked down. I didn't need to add any more liquid. I nailed that perfectly. Now, this is red hot, so be very, very careful. The next thing we need to do, because you can't eat these, well, you can, but they'll be very, very chewy, is fish out those 4 bay leaves that I put in. That's 2. Took a while, but that's 3. That's 1. We've got number 4. And this is kind of where we want the meat to be. This is flipping hot, but here's the meat. And it literally just falls apart. Right, now we're just going to give the stock a little taste. Perfect. It does need a hint of seasoning, but we've got one more ingredient to add. Now, this is 25% less salt gravy granules, but it still has a reasonable amount of salt in it. So this is going to thicken and season the stew. You can add more, you can't take away. So just give it a little sprinkle and give it a good stir. Another little sprinkle. One more for good luck. And then this for me now is my perfect consistency for a beef stew. You might like it a bit thinner, you might like it a bit thicker. That is your prerogative. Right, let's have one last little taste now. I've added those gravy granules. Absolutely bang on. And there we go. Now, I'm not going to pick that pot up and try and tip it to show you the finished article. I shall simply pop a picture on instead. Now, that's not a complete dish. I'm going to make it into a complete dish. I've put a picture of the ingredients on social media, and a lot of people are like, oh, where's the potatoes? Where's the parsnips? Where's this? Where's that? Where's the other? That is kind of a base for a dish, if that makes sense. So I'm going to serve that with an Aldi beef dripping Yorkshire pudding, whack the beef stew in there with some mashed potato and tender stem broccoli. Why I tend to not put things like potatoes and stuff in there, I like to keep it versatile. There's 5 portions in there, so I can have 1 portion with mash, 1 portion in a jacket potato, 1 portion with chips. I also like to use it to make steak pie. So get a little pot, whack it in there, get some pre-made puff pastry, cut a lid and stick that on. So yeah, that's why I kind of just make it as a base of a beef stew, as it were. 5 portions, 264 calories a portion, 33 grams of protein, 4 grams of fibre. If you want to add potatoes at the start, no worries whatsoever. You can add whatever you want. Be adventurous. Just remember, you will need to add the calories on. All the ingredients, what's in that pot, and the link to track it on Nutracheck is in the description. That's it. Give it a go.